Ladies and gentlemen, today we have some absolutely breaking news. You see, as it would seem, the great state of Texas has just done the impossible. Now, as you all know, the Democrats have been aggressively gerrymandering every single state that they could get their hands on for decades now. And so, to be clear, what this means is that they've been deliberately redrawing district lines to include as many Democrat voters into one district as humanly possible. In fact, to really show you all the extreme degree to which the Democrats have gerrymandered this entire country, take a look at this. In 9 different states across the nation, Republicans have 0 congressional House seats, despite being anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of each of these states' populations. And the reason why is because the Democrats have been deliberately redrawing all of the voting districts in order to screw over the Republicans. But then, on top of that, we've got another 6 states in the country in which Republicans are so disproportionately underrepresented that it actually makes your head spin. But so the point is, regrettably, the Democrats have been able to spend the last several decades gerrymandering this nation into oblivion to great success. However, folks, that brings us to today's news. Take a look at this.
We're following breaking news out of Texas, where the Republican-led state Senate just passed a new congressional map. The 18-8 vote was finalized after Republicans blocked a filibuster. The bill now heads to Governor Greg Abbott's desk to be signed into law. The new map was drawn to help the GOP win as many as 5 additional U.S. House seats in next year's midterm elections. This marks the final legislative hurdle for the redistricting plan backed by President Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The Senate's approval follows weeks of uncertainty after House Democrats fled the state for 15 days to block the 2/3 quorum needed to conduct business. Lawyers advised them to return on Monday to build a strong public record ahead of a potential legal battle. All of this has ignited an intensifying nationwide redistricting arms race. California Democrats responded on Thursday by approving their own new congressional map. It would hand Democrats 5 more favorable House districts. Unlike Texas, California voters still have to approve the new congressional map in November's election. This typically once-a-decade process is now expected to spread to other states in the coming weeks.
And so, folks, today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Now, worth noting, the Texas state Republicans aren't doing what the Democrats have done. They're not creating brand new, ridiculously gerrymandered voting districts. Rather, they're just undoing all of the Democrats' ridiculous voting districts. So really, they're just returning things to normal. But now, there's something else I want to show you all here, and by the way, I have a feeling you're going to like this. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. As it would turn out, because of these new voting districts in Texas, it would seem as if Representative Al Green and Representative Jasmine Crockett are both set to lose their seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, this whole situation down in Texas is actually even better than we had all originally thought. But okay, as we heard in that report just a moment ago, in response to this redistricting going on in Texas, Governor Gavin Newsom is looking to steal a bunch of House seats from the Republicans over in California. And so for a breakdown of that entire situation, take a look at what California Republican gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton had to say about that. Let it play.
We've had gerrymandered districts for a decade now, despite the intent of the voters to have an independent redistricting process. That's what people want. They took the power away from the legislature. They didn't want the politicians to have the power to draw the districts to suit their own partisan needs. They want it to be objective and independent and fair. But we don't have fair representation in California. Right now, in California, because the so-called independent districting process was hijacked and corrupted by Democrats. For the roughly 40% of the votes that Republicans have in California, Republicans have just 17% of the House seats. But the reason that we're here today is because Gavin Newsom and Rob Bonta, the state attorney general, who is supposed to be the person who upholds the law in California, is now trying along with Gavin Newsom, to undermine the most important law of all, which is our Constitution. That's why we're here, and I want to lay out to you today my plan to stop Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta, and the Democrats further cementing 15 years of one-party rule by rigging the electoral districts in California, gerrymandering our districts even further with their illegal and unconstitutional scheme to steal 6 more Republican seats, so that if their scheme goes through in California, Republicans will have at least 40% of the vote, and in exchange for 40% of the vote, Gavin Newsom and Rob Bonta want to give Republicans 6% of congressional representation. How is that fair? How is that in any sense legitimate? It is not.
And so, folks, that is what Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are trying to do in California. The Democrats know that they don't have any actual support from the American people, so they have to engage in all of these anti-American activities like gerrymandering the country to high hell and trying to import tens of millions of third world immigrants to vote for them. Now, that being said, worth mentioning, California isn't actually the only state that the Democrats are currently trying to do this in. In fact, numerous other Democrat-led state legislatures across the country have been scheming up similar plans, but unfortunately for them, they've pretty much already gerrymandered the entire country as much as they possibly can. As we said earlier, we already have 15 states in the nation in which Republicans already have pretty much zero congressional representation, so what are the Democrats going to do? Gerrymander those states even harder? They can't. Really, their entire house of cards is coming crashing down, all of their anti-American gerrymandering is being undone, and they know that they're about to lose all of their highly coveted political power. And you know what? If you ask me, that's a good thing, because as you all know, the Democrats have completely and totally failed to represent actual American citizens. Instead, they've become nothing more than a political party that does nothing other than represent the interests of a bunch of illegal aliens. In fact, on that note, take a listen to what Stephen Miller had to say just the other day.
The Democrat Party is an extremist organization, Sean. It's not a political party in any normal sense of the word. A political party represents Americans. It represents law-abiding citizens. All you see all day long are crazy Democrats screeching on TV on behalf of foreign terrorists, hardened criminals, and violent illegal aliens. A political party exclusively dedicated to protecting terrorists, criminals, gangbangers, and murderers. That's what they become.
And so, folks, that is why it's so important that we are finally overturning all of these Democrat gerrymandered voting districts. As I like to say, now that President Trump is back in the White House, we are finally putting America first, and we are finally making America great again.